We might be at round 15, but this season is far from over. Welcome to the round so far. Matt Thompson alongside Kane Corns. And Kane, our big story comes from Sydney, where the Giants are back in the 8.
Yeah, they sit sixth right now. This is what they did to Hawthorn tonight. They absolutely beat them up around the footy. Plus 23 in clearances, plus 53, would you believe, in contested possessions. They've won four in a row, I should say, and now sit sixth on the ladder. So this was clearly going to be a big game, and if you want to use the cliche line, an 8-point game, so to speak. Hawthorn were competitive. They had good contributions from Isaac Smith and particularly Tom Mitchell, but in the end, it was the Giants midfield who got it done with Callum Ward and Cornelio. Dylan Shield was strong, as was Kelly, and Rory Lobb started like a house on fire, and the big fella John O'Patten played his role as well. Yeah,
in the absence of Jeremy Cameron. Was this game over-umpired, do you think?
No doubt about it. I just think this 50-metre protected rule has just gone far too far. Now, if you're a player here, and just watch Hopper there, number 2 to the right of your screen, he's making his way out of the protected area. He's not holding up play. He's having no impact on Hawthorn's ability to move the footy, and he's penalised with a 50-metre penalty, which results in a goal. We'll see it again here. He's making his way out, which is what the players are told to do. If you find yourself in the area, as long as you're making your way out, it shouldn't be a free kick. That cost them a goal tonight, and I can tell you, this is going to cost a team big when it comes finals time. The AFL must act and relax this rule because it's a farce on the game right now.
Do you think that it could, come a grand final, be a real curse potentially for a team?
Well, what I think is that the umpires will put the whistle away for big games. We've seen it before. We saw it in the Bulldogs and the Giants prelim final from a couple of years ago. So the umpires will not pay it in the big moments in a big game. So why should they pay it in the minor round?
So you mentioned Callum Ward. It's fair to say he'd be a clear nomination for the Accord Team of the Week.
I thought he was terrific right from the start. He set the agenda with 11 disposals in the first quarter. 6 of those were contested. So we spoke about the numbers in terms of what the Giants did to Hawthorn's midfield. Plus 23 in clearances, plus 53 in contested possessions. Well, he was massive. 32 he had, 6 tackles and a couple of goals. So he was massive, the Giants skipper.
All right, let's go to the Gold Coast next. And it was a 39-point win for the Magpies over the Suns. This all went to plan as far as the Pies were concerned.
Pretty much, didn't it? And remarkably, Collingwood sit second on the ladder. So what a season it has been for Nathan Buckley and Collingwood. He's the coach of the year for me, Nathan Buckley, with what he's done. No doubt about that, the way he's rejuvenated this side. You see Thomas there kick 4 goals. They've got a new forward line. They've still got some of their stars out. Hoskin Elliott's been important. But no, just what they needed. Wasn't a pretty game, tricky conditions. It was wet, it was slippery up there, and got the job done by 39 points.
Yeah, good win for the Magpies. Now, at the Adelaide Oval, a surprise win, possibly, in some people's opinion at least, with the Crows over the Eagles. And Taylor Walker, talk about a tale of two halves, he really lifted, didn't he, in the second half?
Yeah, he did. He was shaky early just with the way he was using the footy. He had plenty of the ball, but was ineffective with his disposal. But come the second half, he really did stand up. We saw that big captain's goal. Have a look at the time on the clock early in the last quarter where he sent that home from 55. We know he can do that. And this mark, this is sort of turning back the clock. Haven't seen him do a lot of this, a big contested pack mark inside 50 and most importantly finish. So he was the best player on the ground in the second half of this game, and just an amazing, almost astonishing last quarter of footy from a side that's supposed to be up the top of the ladder with the Eagles. We're going to take a look at some of the last quarter numbers, but they've got issues. They've lost 3 in a row, the Eagles, and they need to address it pretty quickly.
Let's hear what Kade Simpson had to say.
What you saw is what you got, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but at the same time, we've got to fix it as quick as we can because it's happened a few weeks in a row now.
And these numbers from the last term really do tell a story.
Oh, have a look at the dominance. Clearances plus 10 there, contested possessions, they got smashed. How about 24 inside 50s to 4 Adelaide's way? Now, the Eagles are up comfortably at three-quarter time. Crows had 12 scoring shots to the Eagles 2 in the last quarter. So you might say that the Eagles are missing some key players, which is true, but those numbers don't reflect 3 forwards missing in the game. They're midfielders, and 4 players from the Eagles did not touch the footy in the last quarter. McGovern and Natanui had 1. So the West Coast, we know they've got an issue with their big players standing up on the big stage. So once again, the star players in McGovern and Nat Nui, when the game's on the line, didn't get it done again.
From one Simpson to another, and your Saturday star does come from a losing side, Kade Simpson.
No, they were good today, Carlton, and this man was probably the best of them. I thought he was probably the best man on the ground today, 34 years of age. It was a great moment. The crowd got behind him today. They all stood up in the 6th minute of the first quarter to celebrate his 300th game, but once again, the way he reads the ball and the courage that he displays over a long, long period of time doesn't look like slowing down to me. I think he's got at least another 2 or 3 years left in him and will go down as one of the all-time great Carlton players.
It was a good day for Port Adelaide, though, obviously, particularly when they really put their foot on the pedal in the final turn.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they just did, a little bit like Collingwood, did what they needed to do. Carlton was strong and competitive for 3 quarters. I thought the final quarter, Port Adelaide showed the class that they've got. We saw the goal there from Motlop. There's the reaction from the Carlton coach, Brendan Bolton. But this here, have a look at the pick-up and give from Ollie Wines. Shrugs off 3 Carlton players to Wingard. So we've seen Motlop finish, we've seen Wingard finish, Boak will kick a goal here right now in the last quarter. So Port Adelaide just have class through their side. Robbie Gray was good in the first half with 3 goals and was influential. So I thought Charlie Dixon competed as well. So a good win, has them 5th on the ladder right now and ready to strike.
So let's contrast that with the class that we saw from Port Adelaide to Jacob Wiedering's day at the office.
Well, I just think he's at the crossroads right now. He's played over 50 games now, Jacob Wiedering, and he looks lost to me. The honeymoon period is over, so 50 games, and for a key defender, I look at it like you need to have some tricks. So if you look at, are you exceptionally strong in the one-on-one contest, like Rance or like Talia? No, he's not. Well, if you're not strong in the one-on-ones, can you get off and read the ball like we see McGovern do, like we see Lever do? Can he do that? Well, no, he can't. Well, if he can't do that, does he use the ball like James Sicily across half-back? Does he have a real weapon with his leg? And the answer is no to that. So what is Jacob Wiedering's weapon? Right now, he doesn't have one, and, as I said, the honeymoon period's over.
Is he targeted, do you think, by expert commentators because of that #1 draft pick tag?
There's always going to be pressure with that, but there comes to a point where you've played enough footy to be able to deal with that and put that aside. Now, we saw in his first year that he was capable and he showed some good signs, but he's looked lost. They've tried him forward last year. That didn't work, and right now he's getting beaten in far too many one-on-one contests.
All right, let's go back to Friday night now. And how did this happen? It was quite remarkable, wasn't it? But the Western Bulldogs prevailed.
Well, considering that what they learnt from the week before against North. So just have a look. We're going to slow it down here. Duncan off the back of the square. Now, that's Zane Cordy coming with him. He doesn't go with Duncan off the back of the square. You must go with him. Like, where's the pressure on that? He gets sucked into the footy, as a lot of the Western Bulldogs players do. Duncan is allowed so much time and space. Give a quality player time and space, and that's what he'll do. That's the midfielders that all got drawn into the footy. They're in absolute no man's land there for the Bulldogs. And remarkably, despite the 2 or 3 they had behind the ball, Harry Taylor's left in a one-on-one, a favourable matchup. So, once again, that probably should have cost them the game if Harry Taylor didn't miss late.
All right, so that's how that happened. Let's take a look at this now. The Cats' next 3 games, and I'll tell you what, they are seriously under pressure.
They're at risk, aren't they? They really are. That was huge, that game. They let that slip. And remembering back, they let a big lead at 3/4 time slip against Sydney. So they've had an interesting year, Geelong. Sydney next week's big. You wouldn't see them winning that. Then Adelaide, and then a big one against Melbourne. So I'm not sure they make the 8 from here.
OK, big call. Back on Thursday night, we saw the Tigers, and they trounced the Swans by 26 points. They're definitely going to be in the 8, the Tigers and the Swans. But Kieran Jack, where did it go wrong for him and the Swans?
Yeah, unfortunately, he's been a warrior. What a career. 243 games he's played, but it does come quickly at the end. He's 31. Just the one kick on Thursday night, and I just thought he was looking for contact and a little bit worried about his leg speed. So just averaging 16 disposals this year, and is really struggling at the level, particularly against a quick side on a fast surface like Eddie had, and he was found out, unfortunately, on Thursday.
Gary Rowan is one of the more popular members of the Swans side. We know he's been through a lot, but how do his numbers stack up?
He's 27 now, Gary Rowan. It's remarkable. He's not a young player anymore. He's been around for a long, long time. Once again, 6 possessions on Thursday night, ineffective. And he's teased us. He's teased us for 9 years, Gary Rowan. He's averaging 8 disposals, less than a goal a game this year. So they got some question marks around some of their, highly regarded players in Jack and Rowan. Heaney got injured, so he didn't have any influence at all with 5 disposals. But Gary Rowan probably needs to go back and find some footy at the lower level.
Could he be trade bait, potentially?
Has been for a couple of years. I mean, there would be. I think he's contracted. I'd have to look into his status at Sydney, but he would get some interest from other clubs. But he's been a tease for a while.
Righto, let's take a look at the ladder. It's been the story of this show, really, hasn't it? And the Tigers are there on top with Collingwood now in second position. West Coast slipping to third. Port Adelaide and GWS there in fifth and sixth. Melbourne in seventh. Geelong now in eighth spot. And Hawthorn just outside, really, with North Melbourne. The spots are really up for grabs, aren't they, Kate?
Oh, it's fascinating. It's been a terrific round of footy, and the ebbs and flows will continue for the rest of the year, exactly like the AFL would want it. So perfectly poised. And then the games that we've got coming up tomorrow are crackers as well, and will help to shape the eight as we look at those. Melbourne taking on St Kilda, you'd think they'll be far too strong. They've got a good run the next 3 weeks, the D's, so they can make their move. Essendon's a big one. They've won 4 out of the last 5. They play Collingwood next week, which will be huge next Sunday. And Fremantle going along nicely. They'll be fresh off the bye, and Nat Fyfe will look to get plenty of the footy, no doubt.
Now, one more thing before we go. Back on Friday night, we obviously saw Harry Taylor and how many Bulldogs players on the mark. But I'll tell you what, this is nothing compared to 1988. Look at this.
Oh, it's great.
Simon Beasley.
How they let that happen? No surprises that he missed. That's just some of the best footage. Well done. That is absolute gold.
That was at Carrara back in 88. That is extraordinary. Kane, thank you for that. Thank you for watching. That is the round so far.